or evening based on your location. Today is another wonderful day, and I hope it's going to be another amazing episode of your children, their safety, or our children, their safety. So here again is your host, Peggy Barre, myself, your survivor empowerment coach, and Nelly Kwasingwe. And I'll just pass you to Nelly Kwasingwe to introduce herself, and then we can crack on.
Hello, everyone. I am Nelly Kwasingwe, social worker, life coach, transformational life coach, and founder of Hand in Hand CIC. So we are here today for the fifth session. I'll just pass over to Peggy.
Wow, fifth session already, how time flies. And to
Yeah.
know that we're doing it every 2 weeks, you can tell that time is flying. And trust me, guys, we are learning a lot. We are learning a lot. So today we are talking about a very interesting topic. Sorry, let me just. Yes, we're talking today again about an interesting topic, and we're talking about children safeguarding, as you all know. How can we safeguard our children? How can we protect our children? How can our children rely on us, for their safety? So today, the topic that we're talking about is why do parents or families refuse or are reluctant to seek support from the social services? They say the help is there, the social service is there, the resources are there, the institutions are there to support us or support parents through that challenges. But why are parents not or families not coming forth to seek that support? So that is what we're going to be discussing today. Is there something stopping us? So we're going to be exploring that today, and hopefully you guys, well, you're going to learn something and maybe take away that fear from you, that breach or that barrier that is stopping you from asking help. So yeah, over to you, Nelly. First of all, Nelly, before we actually start the discussion, from your perspective as a social worker, I know you've dealt with a lot of family, many, many families. And I know you've dealt with cases where parents, that parents are going through challenges with their children, and maybe their children because before we even get to the point where they need to seek support, there would have been something happening within that family. Right, from my understanding, that child may have been going through something, or the parents themselves may have been going through a lot. Again, speaking from my own point of domestic abuse side point, there would have been something going on. But then, why do parents or families don't step forth and support their children? In my head, I have my own answer, but I'm passing it to you, Nelly, because I know as a professional, you kind of just give an insight onto it before I'll add my own bit in terms of domestic abuse. Yeah, so over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Peggy, for that. Yes, there are lots and lots of parents who are going through many different situations. They know that they are struggling. However, they don't seek help. That is what we will try to explore today. And you watching, please make contributions because we are here to learn as well. So, yes, we have had cases where parents are struggling. However, they don't contact any of the support services, whether social services, early help, even their GP, their health aspects. They don't, even the teachers in school. And sometimes social services gets involved because a child makes a disclosure. And when a child makes a disclosure, obviously the safeguarding lead, say in school, makes a referral to children's services and they will do an investigation. Sometimes they find that a lot has been going on within that family. And sometimes children play, and whether it's a slip of the tongue, they just say something ignorantly without knowing that they're really exposing what's going on in the home. But now, on this session today, our question is why is it that parents or families are reluctant to ask for help from social services because obviously they know that they are struggling with, because from a professional point of view, when we are assessing, when we are completing assessment and we talk to the parents, first there's the fear. Parents say those who accept, because some, it's not straight away that all the parents will accept whatever concerns are going on. Those parents who are reluctant, there's always some other factor that's going on. But here now, we will look at some of the reasons why parents are reluctant, because it's not like they are not aware that they are going through some difficulties, but it's that acceptance. Some probably due to culture, whatever, they don't really understand that they don't understand what's going on, but they can feel and they understand that something is not quite right.
Absolutely. What you said, Nelly, is spot on, really true. And I feel that, again, when we talk about child safeguarding or children safeguarding, we from the beginning we said it is something that run across the board. It doesn't discriminate. It run across every family, whether which race or whatnot. But I do feel that that reluctance mostly sometimes comes from the BMA community. So again, one thing that I just want to touch on is the fact that one of the fear factors is that stigma. Again, coming from a background where we know that our family things needs to stay inside. Whatever thing we're struggling with the children needs to stay indoors. And again, we have some of that perspective or that perception of like a superhero or that superwoman or that super parents, where you know what, we can deal with anything. No matter how we're drowning in that difficulties, we just feel like, you know what, no, I can deal with this. And then we leave it, we allow it and push until when things get to the point where it's all gone berserk. That's when we're asking for support. And that time, maybe things would have already gone wrong. So I feel that I think from the cultural perspective, again, I wouldn't say pride. I would say it's a cultural kind of stigma where we feel like it is, we feel vulnerable for asking for help, if you get what I mean. We feel vulnerable asking for help. We feel weak when we ask for help. We feel incapable. It's more like a stigma, or it's more like you're not parent enough. You're not a good parent enough to make sure that. But again, this is that point where we as a community need to learn to take that burden away from us. We need to shift that blame game or that guilt mindset and come to the mindset where, you know what, no matter, sometimes we may even do our best as parents. You're doing your best, making sure you're giving your child the best and all of that, but then things happens. And things may happen at home where like you said, it may not have happened intentionally, but the child with a slip of tongue, that innocent child goes to school and says something else. And in our perspective, what we've done is for the best interest of that child. But in the eyes of that child, it may not be the best interest. And when the child go to school and blurb it, that is where other narratives keep coming on that thing. And by the time you know it, that tiny thing that you did out of goodwill or with good intention becomes something else. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So just coming back to the focus of today is we are just trying to explore some of the reasons why parents are reluctant to ask for help.
Mhm.
And I would say the main thing is fear. It stems from fear because parents understand that something is not right. Okay, for instance, if parents are at home and they are they argue, they fight on minor things, they don't like it, they understand that it's not right, but this is where fear comes in. They start thinking, first, the cultural aspect. If they want to call they want to ask for help, are their children going to be taken away? Because when parents are concerned and when social services are concerned, that's the first thought that parents have, that if they ask for help, are their children going to be removed from them because of their poor parenting and things like that? They judge themselves. So that fear that their children might be taken away will stop them, and they will say, okay, I'll manage, or they'll hope that things might improve. But it's not usually the case, because sometimes things go worse.
Mhm.
And parents might be thinking, if they go to seek for help from, say, family members, like in the Afro Caribbean communities, you go to ask for help. Let's say domestic abuse, you mentioned domestic abuse. If, say, the woman goes to whether her side of the family to say, my husband is doing this, I'm really struggling, they'll say, no, it's better you stay in that marriage. So then this woman is stuck, because that is from her family side. If she goes to speak to the husband's side that, please, this is what is going on at home and it is not really conducive, most of the family members on the man's side, they will say, you better stay there, because my brother, my uncle, my dad, he's a very, very good man, or he is the only one that we look up to. So you sort out yourself, because it's very common. The woman is blamed for whatever goes on in the house, and they don't listen. So all that is fear based, and this family, they'll keep on trying to change things, but without putting any solution in place, things will go bad. And another fear is, if they go to ask for help from social services, does that mean they're going to expose all the rubbish that has been going on within that home? So they'll be like, no, they'll expose a lot, because a lot has been going on. So it's better to stay quiet and just try to manage it themselves. So I think
Mm.
fear is a major factor why some parents are reluctant to seek for help, though they know they are struggling. And like you said, the resources are out there. There are agencies that can provide that support.
Yeah. Absolutely. That it takes me back to a story. I think I had shared this story with you, Nelly, where because when we talk about asking for help here, it's not just from the social service. It's
Hmm.
asking for help for from all the the community organizations that are within the community, whether it means from your GP, whether it means from your whoever, your even your church or wherever you can ask for help, for support. We're talking about that. Because even if you don't go directly to the social services, maybe at the time where you need support, it might not even be related to the social services, but that initial support might just be even maybe from your GP, or maybe from somewhere else. Now, I think I did share with you this story of a lady that accidentally, the son accidentally burned. No, I think that the son was trying to take the kettle or carry the kettle or something, and then the water from the kettle accidentally burned that child. And then these two parents at that time, I think there were their eldest son had actually said something in school which has already kind of gave like a red flag about them. So every other thing now they were trying to cover up or hide it out of fear. Again, I wouldn't say cover it up, but again, it's because of that fear. Now, the little son actually burns himself, then sustain an injury, which of course that was an accident. You know, an accidents do occur. And when accidents happen, what is the first responsibility or that first intuitive action from a parent is to seek for support, and is to seek for medical support, which they would have either taken that child to maybe a walking center, or even call 111 or call 99, depending on the situation. But then this parents unconsciously, I don't know, decided that they were going to treat that child at home. And the reason why they did that, because they said if they had taken that child to the hospital, then it would have been labeled on them that is abuse, that they've abused that child. And so for them doing that at home, thinking that they were going to successfully heal that child at home, but then unfortunately for them, the social services had to visit. And when the social service came to visit, the first thing they noticed was that wound that burned on that little boy's leg. And then the first question they asked, what have you done with that? Did you take the child to hospital? Of course, if they had said yes, they'll ask for evidence. So they said no. And that straight away was a red flag, you know. And that is it. That's where that little accident now turned into a massive thing. It turned into neglect, it turned into all whatnot, all terms started coming into it. And by the time you knew it, these children, these ladies, 3 children, or at the time 5 children, were taken away from this lady. So you can see that sometimes it's just that fear or maybe that ignorance. And that is why it's very important for us to do this awareness session, because again, like we say, sometimes things will happen, but what is your action immediately after that? Yeah. So I don't know whether you want to jump on there, Nelly, and say something then before I will talk about even the domestic abuse related to children's side.
Yeah, so just to add to that, we've talked about fear, and yeah, remember that example that you talked about, that child. There's the aspect of shame and guilt, because
Mm,
I'm sure you've talked about it a little in the Afro-Caribbean community. Asking for help in itself, regardless of whatever the support is, there's the myth that asking for help is a sign of weakness.
mhm,
So then, if someone is struggling, they just want to deal with things their own way. Though it gets to a point where they know that they can't solve the problem. But then where do they go to? They don't want to be judged as being weak. They don't want to be judged as being unable to take care of themselves and their families. So there's that aspect of lack of that aspect of shame and the stigma around it. Sometimes is past trauma. People have
mhm,
gone through a lot. Like the Afro Caribbeans, when we were growing up, we knew, like, with regards to mental health, we, for me and for yourself as well, we had just 2 words: either you are happy or you are sad, and that was it. So to an extent, we grew up, we experienced trauma, but we just thought it was just a way of life, and we did not realize how it impacted us. So again, imagine with the fear that asking for help is means that you are unable to take care of yourself, added to the trauma. How will you then lead a life, a happy life? You'll just be struggling, and without knowing and developing better ways of living your life, you will want to treat your child the way you were parented. So then, all the ills or all the struggles that our parents went through, or that was their own way, the knowledge they had at the time to bring us up the way they did, because they did it for the best they could. But
mhm,
now, because we have learned other things, especially the trauma informed practice, we are realizing that children have gone through a lot of trauma, and without knowing even that they are suffering, because that's something they've grown, they've known all their lives. They've just carried on with it, and they've taken it as part of their life. But now, like being a coach, I am realizing that, because a lot of the clients that I'm working with, they have triggers in their adulthood, but then when digging deep down, a lot of those traumas, the original traumas, is from childhood. But then, because it happened many, many years ago, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, a lot of the clients say that, but that's something that happened a long time ago, without realizing that it is whatever strategies they have developed is become very, very automatic. So they just react without even thinking. So
Mm.
again, parents will pass that on and they will not want to ask for help.
It's very true, very true. And I think it takes courage. It actually takes courage to get to a point where we realize that our childhood trauma is actually affecting our adulthood, the way we think, the way we talk, and the way we behave. It's actually affecting us. And I feel that it is again is that consciousness, that conscious decision to know that, realize that, you know what, hang on, why am I acting this way? Why am I talking this way? Why do I behave this way? Why do I even think this way? Until we get to that point, I think that is a problem where we just have to we just get passing that cycle to our children, and then our children pass it down, because that's all what they've learned. And again, that's all what we've learned from our own parents. So there come a point where it's important to break that cycle. Another thing that I just wanted to touch on again, when it comes to the fact where why families do not ask for help, and this is concerning relating to domestic abuse, and you'll be shocked and surprised how ignorant we are. Even at one point in my life, I was that ignorant. I was really that ignorant. I almost, my children, like I think I shared with you one time, I almost lost my children just because of that ignorance. Because we feel that, again, we come from the background where we feel that everything that happens in the home happens in the home. And sometimes you know that some things are not going right in terms of the relationship. And we feel that because children, although children are in that home, they are not hearing anything. That child has not been hit. That child has not been shouted upon. That child is not seeing anything that is happening. We've never fought, we've never quarreled, we've never, in front of the children. But then, like we said before, just the fact that they're in that atmosphere, that environment, unconducive environment, it is actually affecting the children. And now, right, if you want to go down to the children's right and what the social services are there to make sure they protect the health and welfare of that child, that conducive environment constitute part of that. They need to make sure that the environment where that child is in is conducive for that child. If the environment is not conducive for that child, that will affect that child's mental development, or that child's developmental growth or something. And so it is the duty of the social services to step in if you as parents cannot help that child. It is their duty to step in, to play their role, to make sure that they safeguard their child as much as possible. But then this is where sometimes, again, as a community, we're very, very ignorant, right? In this situation, in fact, let me share my story. When the time where my marriage broke down, and I was in the process of transiting from where we were to where we had to go for temporary accommodation, all of that. you know in that point in your life where you're thinking that maybe things have broken down, and then maybe, because in my mind, again, I thought, even if they were to relocate us somewhere, it will still be within the city, right? And at that time in my head, I was thinking the children needed to go to school. The children, had to continue their networks of friends and all of that. I didn't want anything to affect the children in terms of losing that connection, that community connection that they were already. And so here I am. The children's services they had already stepped in. They had already questioned the children. They had already established that the children, there was something going on, and it was detrimental to the children. Right now, at that point where they say, right, we need to relocate you from this environment to another environment, and then here there I was trying to fight it, trying to say, no, I don't want to go, because it's going to affect my children. I don't want them to lose school and all of that and all of that. And I was there giving them excuses. At that point, I was even trying to even see whether I could go back to that same environment. Right. Trying to see that I'll go back, trying to convince them that, no, this time things are going to be all right, and that. But no, ignorant me I was so lucky because I think that the social service that was actually the children's social services that was actually supporting me at the time was an African a guy, and he called me. He pulled me to the side, and he told me, he said, "Hey, madam, better be careful, because where you are right now, if you do not comply, these children are going to be taken away from you. They're not stopping you from going back to that environment. It's fine. You can go back. Nobody is stopping you to go back, continue a relationship and all of that and all of that. But know that these children are going to be taken away from you, because there they've established that you lack the capacity. In fact, you're not capable of protecting the welfare of these children." That is the moment where I realized that it was actually a serious matter. And so from then, anything that they said, I was just like, okay, all right, okay, okay, okay. And I complied. Again, we talked about, I think in another session, we talk about collaboration, where it is called, you collaborate with the system, not because, sometimes when they see that you have your children best interest at heart, and that you really want to safeguard those children, they're going to support you. To an extent, they're going to support you. But the problem comes when we're resisting. We keep resisting and resisting. That is where they start to question it, and then they start to intensify and start doing things. So cutting the long story short, that is from where I realized that, oh, I needed to be very careful here. So again, I kind of collaborated with them, and then everything was smooth. They gave me the support that I needed, to be honest with you. They really supported me through the process. And then, well, like they say, the rest is history. And so this is the thing that I always say. Again, when it comes to that abusive domestic abuse, they're not saying that. And like I always say, again, when we talk about domestic abuse, it's a huge thing. But again, things will happen in a relationship, Nelly. Things will happen in a relationship. And I always say, this is not about pointing the blame, the finger to anybody and say, oh, this person is bad, or that person is good, or that person. No, no, nobody by nature is bad. It's just that we make wrong choices. And when we make wrong choices, we face the wrong consequences. We face consequences. So this is the matter. And it's all about learning. It's a learning curve, because things will happen sometimes. And when you look back, when you look at the hindsight, you could say, oh my God, maybe, 10 years ago, if I am reasoning the way I'm reasoning now, maybe this or that wouldn't have happened. It's a learning curve. And that is why it's very, very important. So coming back to the point where we're talking about, when there is tension, or the relationship is being abusive, or not conducive, this is where parent, especially if the person who is deemed the victim, you need to be able to protect your children, because that at that point is not about you and the partner, it's about the children, especially when the social service have stepped in. They're no longer concerned. Well, to an extent, they are also mindful of the victim's well-being, but at that time, their priority, the priority is on the children's well-being. Am I right? Am I right, Nelly? From your
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. It's a children's
So,
well-being.
so yeah. So at that point, they want to establish the fact that you have got capacity, or you can take care of your children or safeguard your children. If they see that you are not putting the children's best interest first, then that is where they will threaten to, or they might come to the point of taking that children, taking your children away. So this is very, very important, because the reason why I'm sharing this, Nelly, most of the community, or the women or families that I support in the community, they've gone down this route. They've gone down this route where there is domestic abuse, but they don't want to leave the relationship, right? And they don't want to get support, because they're clinging to their part, to the perpetrator. And then they wonder why the social service is putting pressure that these children need to be taken away. So this is, yeah.
Yeah, I think just to add there, you realize that it goes back to the fear, because
Mhm.
when social services get involved, they are focused on the children. Though support is offered to the parents, the victim, and the
Mhm.
perpetrator, support is also provided, but they want to see who of the parents is able to protect the children. And
Yeah.
that's where the focus is on the welfare on the child of the children. So I talked about the fear around the cultural aspects. sometimes without understanding or without exploring why the victim is hesitant to leave that relationship, most at times there's pressure from the family, that threat
Mm-hmm.
from the family, which then is restricting that parent who can protect that child. So that the victim is there now in the middle, because the victim is getting is being confronted by family members, maybe from their side and the partner's side, and then
Mm-hmm.
social services. She is in the middle, or she is in the middle. The child is there. Who is she going to protect? Obviously, she wants to protect the child, but there are other aspects that are limiting them from taking that bold step to say, okay, my child, my children are at risk here. I'm at risk of losing the children. I can let go of that relationship. Another factor might be that they are attached to that partner, to that relationship, which is their own personal issues, that probably they have been in that relationship for a very long time. That just so many different aspects that without exploring, it's really difficult to give a specific support. But unfortunately, I would say is there's mostly an umbrella support that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't suit everyone. And the most common the most common solution or support that's available is, if for instance, I'll talk about a woman. If a woman is in an abusive relationship with children, the easiest option is, we will offer you a refuge, a place of safety. But then what next? So I will talk a little about my experience. I had been there, I had been in a refuge. But then I went back home, and then I finally decided to leave because I was seeing the direction where my children, myself were going to. However, the first time that I decided to go back home was because I didn't feel that I got any emotional support. My abuse was emotional abuse. I was not equipped. So I thought that no, I don't know where this is going to, because okay, yes, if they move me house, it's immediate safety. But it was not the immediate safety. For me, it was the emotional abuse, because
Mm-hmm.
emotional abuse can take place over the phone. It's not necessarily physical. So because I realized that I was not equipped, there was no support for me emotionally, I said, no, I needed to figure out what to do, because at the time I was really struggling with my children, and I knew that I had to do something with myself first to
Mm-hmm.
be able to support my children. So, which is why, like now, I mean, I am in domestic abuse panels, and this is something I focus on the emotional aspect of it, because regardless of the situation you are going through, if you are able to regulate your emotions, you will
Mm-hmm.
deal with that situation much better than when you are not able to, and you'll just be all over the place, and you'll be
Yeah.
focusing only on those emotions without really focusing on any solution. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, that is, I mean, is okay. And then one thing I'll just add is, if the woman is the victim, for example, services are more on, there's more pressure on the woman or on the mother to say, you need to protect the children. If you don't protect the children, if you don't protect the children, they will be taken away. What they'll do with the perpetrator is, they might issue an order, say a restraining order, for him not to have access to, or not to attend that property, or not to have contact with the with the victim. But then all the pressure, okay, say for instance, the couple have, say, three children. Who will be doing the school runs? Probably the woman is working. many other things. Probably the children have extracurricular activities. Who will be taking the children to those activities? So then you see that there's a lot of pressure being put on the victim, whereas the man or the perpetrator, they've just been moved out of the property. But then they're taking care of the children that are not involved. So there's a lot of pressure. And sometimes that can contribute to people hearing the experiences from others, and they're reluctant to ask for help because they see themselves going through that same route. However, now there's a lot of input around domestic abuse because the police are involved. There are different resources, and the approach to it now is they're working on it. And I think you are fully aware of this as well. So yeah, I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're absolutely right, Nelly, because again, they always say, they say a bird in hand is better than a bird or whatever. One bird in hand is better than five birds in the
In the
bush,
bush.
you know, because again, you're thinking at least, and then the thing again, that one of the thing where we're talking about it is the fact that sometimes even the victims have actually stayed in that environment for so long, and the emotional abuse or the abuse has become a norm. They're used to it, you know. So again, they're used to it does not mean that the children are used to it. The fact that the victim is okay with whatever thing the perpetrator is doing, they're swallowing the insult or the punches and whatnot, does not mean that the children haven't got how do I, they haven't got the there's one word that I'm looking.
The
They
stamina.
haven't the stamina. That's what I was looking for. They haven't got the stamina to be able to sustain or keep or manage the same pain and trauma that that victim is going through. And this is one of the things that we as parents or families need to recognize, the fact that this is one of the reasons where when we don't take that action, the social service will step in. Because again, we're thinking that, oh, maybe the fact that I just get up and go my day, but that you don't know what that child is going through. That child is even watching you. And some children even take upon the guilt, especially the elderly children. They begin to feel guilty of seeing you in that way, going through what you're going through. And everyday children, sometimes they will disguise their emotions. They will hide their emotions because they feel that if they express their emotions, it's gonna hurt you even the more. So this is where you find that you ask them, "Are you all right?" "Oh yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm okay." But no, deep down they're not okay. They're just trying to disguise that emotion. And in our little head, sometimes you'll be thinking, I know that that child is fine, that child is okay, right? And only by the time you know it, that thing would have eaten them to the point where they will have like a mental breakdown. And by the time you start resorting to finding a solution, it would have been bad. So again, this is another thing that families need to pay attention, that the fact that it is okay with you does not mean that it's okay with the children. The fact that it's okay with even the couples you guys are, it doesn't mean that it's okay with the children. And this is where we need to step away from that point of our looking only on ourselves and actually focusing that lens on these children. Because like I said before, they say when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. These children are the grass that
Yeah.
suffers. So we need to focus that lens on them. Because if we are conscious to focus that lens on the children, I tell you, that fear is going to go away. That fear is because you're thinking at that moment that I need to do something. If you think that you need to do something to safeguard a child, and you feel that the only solution for you is to step out and ask for help, you will do it. You will do it. And again, like you said, it's all about that mindset where we get to the point where if we cannot heal our own self, how can we heal people around us? We can't, because we are drowned in our own sorrow, we are drowned in our own pain, we drown in our own guilt. You drown, well, the guilt, self-imposed guilt, I will say. We're drowned in, different stuff that we're going through. And you're just taking day by day, day after another, and you're forgetting about this innocent soul near
Yeah.
you. So I feel that, Nelly, like you rightly say, is that conscious awareness. And for me, like I say, consciousness is a massive, massive thing. It's a massive, massive thing. As I write in my book, that is the first step, which is that ignite consciousness. Because igniting consciousness is the point where, Nelly, you get to the point that enough is enough. Wake up. We sleep a lot. We sleep through a lot without realizing the fact that we need to wake up to certain circumstances. But when we ignite that consciousness, the moment where you decided, where you said that you were going to go ask for help in terms of trying to understand your emotions and learn, that was the consciousness. And you see that when you ignited that consciousness and went and sought for that help, that is how you became a different person in your own self, you know. And
Exactly.
same with me, same with me. So yeah, Nelly, that was so important. So I think again we're saying that one of the things to actually overcome that fear is by being self-aware of who we
Self-awareness is massive.
yeah,
Self-awareness is
massive.
massive.
Yeah.
And like I would say, I'll focus again with the Afro-Caribbean communities because there
Mhm.
are the cultural aspects. Like when you are struggling and you go out to ask for help, they just discourage you. What I would say is, if your children mean anything to you, your family mean anything to you, and you realize that you are struggling, be selfish in the sense that go ask for help. When you are asking for help, you don't need to make a public announcement to your community, because that same community will be the one to pull you back and discourage you. But at the same time, your community will be the one laughing at you behind your back that, oh, look at this couple, look at this family. They can't even manage their family situations and it's impacting on the children and things like that. So for me, my advice is be selfish in the sense that you want to make progress with yourself, with your children, with your family. It is not always the case that if you go to ask for help, you will be separated from your family, from your children, from your husband, from your wife. No, that's not the case. When you go ask for help, be ready to engage with the support. And to engage with the support, you need to be proactive instead of
Mhm.
just waiting for, say, the tick boxes. It will not help you because your time will be wasted and you will not have any help, actual help from the support. So if you want to make the change, go there, focus on yourself, and then, because from you, when you get to if you learn the skills to manage your emotions, then you'll be able to start standing up for the children, for your partner. But a common mistake that a lot of people, myself included, that I made for so many years was that I was trying to change the other person,
Yeah.
giving so many opportunities that all is, and then it got to the point where I was giving excuses on their behalf. So it's for you to know that you cannot make anyone to change. People change when they are ready, which is why there's the a circle of change where you position yourself somewhere. But when you focus on yourself, make the changes, you will notice, if it's positive, you will notice the impact it will have on your children. You don't need to be talking to your children that have changed, because children are very, very observant. They
Mhm.
know the weaknesses of each of their parents, because if they want something, they will go to one parent and not the other parent, and you start thinking why. It's because children know, as human beings, children are very, very manipulative, and they know where to go to for what. And
Mhm.
again, if things are going on at home, because children don't talk about it doesn't mean that they don't know that something is going on. Children know. And when they are amongst themselves, They might discuss it or they might not discuss it, but they know that something is not going on right. Because as we're talking about domestic abuse, many of the cases that I've worked with, when we have concerns that domestic abuse is a factor and we go there, the parents will be like, no, we were arguing or we had a fight in our bedroom and the children were downstairs or the children were in their bedroom and they didn't hear about it and they've not even talked about it. Because children don't talk about it doesn't mean that they don't know that something wrong is going on. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it affects the children because back in school, they are in school, yes, but in their mind, they are at home because they are wondering what is going on at home. If they get home, will everything be all right? When is there going to be a pop up in the house? When is there going to be a fight, a scream, a shout? What will happen? But they don't talk about it. So, like you rightly said, awareness is that conscious ignition. It is very important. Start asking yourself why. Anything you do, ask yourself why, so that you understand why you are doing things the way you are doing it, and so that it will help you to ask for help.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one thing that I just want to ask again, like I said when we started, we need to get to a point where, as parents, take the pressure off you. You need to push the pressure away from you.
Yeah,
We need to know that as parents that you are doing your best.
exactly.
You're doing your utmost best. And one thing that I just want to say, especially for single parents or parents that have come out from the abusive environment and they are with the children. One thing that that perpetrator will do is that that perpetrator will never let you go. That perpetrator will always want to undermine your parenting. There is nothing that you will do that is good in the sight of that perpetrator. And the reason why they want to do that is to try and just mess up your mind and then even mess up your relationship with your children. Because whatever thing you do, they're going to undermine it. They're going to find a way to tame it dark or tame it wrong. This is where we're talking about awareness, igniting that consciousness. Because when you ignite your consciousness, you begin to even set boundaries. You begin to you begin to learn to appreciate yourself. You learn to appreciate and even celebrate your micro wins. You need to learn to tap yourself in the back and say, well done, you're doing great. Every day is not going to be perfect. Oh, yeah. Every day is not going to be perfect. There's some days that, because you know what, we are humans. There's some day that you're going to lash out. There's some day that you feel like screaming. There's some day that you just feel like, you know what, just lock yourself in the room and just, but at the end of the day, don't forget that you are the parent, you are the anchor. Those children are anchoring on you. Remember, especially if you are living with those children, the other parent, they see those parents maybe once in a while. Yes, maybe when they see their parents once in a while, the parents may pamper them. The parents may take them to this place, and the parents may do this, may do that, may do that. That one day they may want to make it like, a Christmas or make it like, but and then children, the funniest thing is that our children's brain are very, very small. They will appreciate maybe that one moment that they've spent with the other parent, but then they forget the 99 days that they're staying with you, the mom, right? Because I'm saying calling the mom because I not negating that, because I know there's some single dads as well here. They will forget the 99% or the 99 days that they are staying with the main parent, the accommodating parent. And so, hey, this is where do not forget that those children's brain are just small. Children's mind, to an extent, they forget. But the lasting impact of what you're doing, if you are doing it right, it never changes. It goes deeper into those children. That is the legacy, that is the lesson that they're going to take with them. So again, we need to say, continue doing your best, continue doing what you're doing. Like Nelly say, our emotion is key. We need to learn to manage our emotions. We need to learn to make sure we pause when we need to pause. When we are sad, we need to know that we are sad. When we are frustrated, we need to know that we are frustrated. Frustration and sadness is not the same. We need to know that we are happy when we are happy. We need to know. That's why I like when you see emojis. I did not know that emojis. In fact, when if you want to know the different feelings that we feel as human beings, just go to emoji. It will tell you. I did not know that anger is different from fear, or anger is different from frustration or frustration. But it is when you start to be aware of learning, stepping forward to learn your emotions, because when you're knowing your emotions will teach you how to act in in different circumstances, you know. So again, this is what I just wanted to say, that let nothing stop you from asking for help. The resources are there, the services are there, they're not there for anything, they're there for you and I. So we need to make sure we step out and ask for help, and ask the help with confidence. This is another thing. We need to be able to step out and ask for that help with confidence, not fear. Because when we step out and ask with fear, our bargaining power is low already. We are going there feeling like maybe we are doubting ourselves. We don't know. No, you walk with your shoulders high and say, you know what, this is the support, this is the help that I'm asking for. And then you see how people are going to rally around to give you that support that you need, without actually criticizing you or being punitive of whatever is happening. Yeah.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. You've mentioned very important things there. And I just want to say, we need to erase that stigma, that myth that
mhm,
asking for help is a weakness, because
mhm,
it is instead a strength.
yeah,
Because for you to ask for help is a sign that you are brave enough to identify that your current situation is not working for you. You want to make the change. So from today, if you want to ask for help, know that you are brave to think of asking for help. Don't think of asking for a massive help like moving house in one day. No, start
mhm,
small. Start
yeah,
small. If you struggle to say express yourself, you can write it down so that you really present it the way you want. Because sometimes when we sit in front of professionals, we panic. If you know you are that kind of a person who cannot express themselves, write it down. You can write it down and present it to them in written form. They will go through, and that's even helpful because they'll ask you one question to the next, depending on whatever you've written. And another thing, be open minded, because a lot of the times families or adults, when they get into services, they say they have been doing things this way, in a particular way, and they want to do it in a particular way. Like Peggy said, because it's working for us the adults doesn't mean that it's working for the children. Start thinking of how is that impacting the children. And I just want to say something, going back to the example that, or the explanation you were giving about the one parent who sees the children now and again. You've talked of consistency, which is really good. It is really, really important for a child or children to have contact with both parents. But again, here we will, or social services will consider if it is safe, because
yeah,
sometimes parents might have, say, once in a week or once a month contact, but that contact can be very, very damaging.
yeah,
So but it is important, give the opportunity and then judge from there. If But it is good because both parents play significant role in their children's lives. Again, this is where it goes back to the uh, parents to take responsibility. If, say, parents are separated and a parent has an issue with the other parent, keep your children out of adult issues, because it is damaging to the children emotionally, because one parent talks ill about the other parent to the child, and the child is staying with the parent that the other parent has been talking ill about, the child feels conflicted because the child stays there, they are feeling comfortable, but when they meet the other parent who talks ill, they're like confused. And with their ages, their brains are still developing. They don't know how to process adult information because the parent who is talking about the other parent will be talking in favor of themselves, which is not helpful. So parents, you need to grow up, develop skills to sort problems out for yourselves. Don't be using your children because you are damaging them. And it is so sad because since I focus on on emotions, I see a lot of children, a lot of young people, a lot of adults who present it, and sad enough, issues stem from childhood.
Yeah.
And it is with the parents. I remember there was a case I was working on. The parent of this child, of it was not a child, the parent of this lady that I was working with, he was the main person who who because he used to compare this lady with her siblings, and she felt that she was not good enough because she dropped out of uni, could not achieve like her siblings. But even till the time that I was working with this lady, the parent, the father kept on saying that, oh, she is lazy, she is this, she is that. And I had to talk to him. I said, listen, this lady, she is old enough to know what she wants for herself. Even if she's a child, she knows what she wants for herself. It is not helpful when you are putting her down because this is what, but I didn't tell him that this is what he had been doing because he
Mm.
was the one, he was the main support behind this child, but he didn't realize that he was the one damaging this child. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
eventually, so when he wanted to talk to the child, to this lady, he will contact me and say, I have this information to talk to the child, but how do I present it? So anyway, after many months, he was able to communicate with the child, with the daughter, in an appropriate way. And yeah, let's be open to learn things. Start small because you cannot, they say a million steps begins with one step. So
Yeah,
start small.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
just to add, speak to the people who matter because
Mm.
you don't just need to go and talk to a neighbor down the street whom you are not even sure that they will help you. But sometimes we say, I just want to get things off my chest. But are you getting it for what reason? Are you getting the whatever out of your chest? Do you want to get solution, or do you just want to talk about it for them to talk about it as their opening discussion for their gossiping, or what is it? You need to be intentional. Be intentional. Yeah.
Very, very true. Very true. And we need to make sure that you mentioned about being mindful of those we take our problems to. Remember that not everybody is happy for you. There's some people that may sound or appear as if they're happy for you, but they're not. And they will be looking for every loophole to even make sure that they bring you down again. So if you take, that's why we need to be very, very, very conscious of our network, those around us. You might take something and go and say to the wrong person, and then the person, you have given that person the weapon to even destroy you the more, and even destroy your children the more. So I always say that there are some issues that you need to deal with people who have gone through the experience and you can learn from them, or you find professionals, you find neutral people that can help you in that situation, So it's very, very important because I speak out of experience. So we need to be very, very mindful those we approach to express or tell them what we're going through. So thank you so much. Nelly, I don't know whether on your point, did you have any other thing to add, or I feel we've explored that fear factor really, really well, and the way forward.
Yeah, I think we've explored it. And like when we're running these sessions, is to raise awareness because a
Mhm.
lot of the things that we have gone through, our life experiences, it doesn't mean that we need to replicate those experiences. What we need
Mhm.
to be asking ourselves is that serving me? Did I
Mm,
feel happy when I was having that experience? If the answer is no or yes, ask yourself, how is your child or your children feeling with that same kind of treatment? If in any way any of the answers is a no, you need to stop yourself and ask, what else or how else can I behave? It is not to please other people. Focus on you, your children, and your family. Because there are so many people out there who just want to talk, but are they going to help your family? It's a massive no. They'll just talk, but they are not there. They don't have any intentions at all to support you and your family because they are struggling with their own issues, but they just need somewhere to vent. So be very mindful and be intentional who you share your problems with. Share your problem with someone or people who will help you look for solution so that you don't focus only on the problems. Look for solution because if there's a problem, there is a solution as well. But if you continue to focus only on the problem, then in your head the problem will look bigger, and there's a self-fulfilling prophecy because you are thinking of the problem so much. The problem will you will turn to behave more as the problem. But then if you change that mindset to be looking at solutions, then you'll be able to solve those problems. And you don't need to solve a problem with the whole community. Start with yourself. Start with yourself.
absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that's all I've got for myself.
Absolutely. And I agree 100%. 100%. That is so true. So thank you so much, Nelly. Again, I think we've had another amazing session. And if you're watching after, please make sure we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Are there any topic or any subject area that you want us to talk about? Please put them in the comments. We will read your comments and we will always act upon, what you've written. And I hope that you're learning, and we will continue to keep doing this so long it is impacting life. It is actually changing life, because at the end of the day, look, nobody carries a child for 9 months, give birth to that child, nurture that child, and then get to a point where they lose that child. No. So we want to make sure this is our own little way of saying, we want to help our community stay together happily, and making sure that our children become responsible adults. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I just want to say thanks to Ernestine Zele, who has put a lot of a heart emoji. So thank you so much. She's a massive support to me. And yeah, thank you, Ernestine. So, yeah, please, if there's any topic you want us to talk about, get in contact with us because here we are talking. It doesn't mean that we know everything. No, because as we are having these conversations, sometimes we are realizing certain things that we did not realize before the show because it's not like it's been rehearsed. No, we just come here and sometimes our raw experiences, we share them. So we are learning as we are talking. So we need your input as well. So we share and we learn and we grow. And like Peggy said, make our community a better place. So thank you so much. And we have our sessions every 2 weeks. So we will put up the the poster for the next session.
Okay, thank you so much, our lovely people. Thank you so much for watching. You look after yourself. Hey, parents, you are doing amazingly. Look after yourself, look after your children, and we are going to see you again in 2 weeks' time for another amazing episode. So have a massive, in fact, massive, gosh, maybe because have a great weekend. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. You don't go.